Hello, I'm Challen Uэйчофф, and welcome to Heavenly Water and our presentation of Understanding the RBTI. RBTI stands for the Reams Biological Theory of Ionization. Over the last 20-some years, we've printed and published 11 books plus several CDs and DVDs explaining the RBTI and the theories of the RBTIs and the rules of the RBTI as Dr. Reams instructed me over 40 years ago. And now what we want to do is present something on a DVD format where we can expand the information being conveyed. If you look at Dr. Reams' book, Choose Life or Death, he says in here that if there's so much material in the RBTI, so much information, that if you were to take a set of numbers and wrote everything down pertaining to that set of numbers on paper, you'd have a stack of paper going from the earth to the moon. And if you were a very fast reader and read 12 hours a day, it'd take you over 2,000 years to read the material, let alone comprehend and understand it. But before we go any further with this series of DVDs, I would like to read a disclaimer. Now, this disclaimer is printed in the only health guide you will ever need. This is one of my textbooks. And this disclaimer states, the following material is presented as educational material only. It is not intended to be prescriptive, diagnostic, or meant to treat any disease or malady of the human body. This material teaches the theory of the Reams Biological Theory of Ionization. If you have any questions about your specific situation, ask a qualified healthcare practitioner whom you trust. Whatever actions you choose to take based upon the information presented in this course, you do so based upon your own reasoning and judgment. I am a traditional naturopath. I do my best to stay within my profession. I teach people how to eat and drink to be healthy. I don't treat diseases or promise cures or give any results for this stuff. What I do is I teach people how to eat and drink. If you go to my website, you'll see even recipes we print. We teach people how to remineralize food. But those are the things we do and we're going to discuss in this series of DVDs. This is quite a journey. I have never seen anybody else do something like this, and we are very excited about bringing this to the world. Dr. Reams' dream was that everybody in the world that wanted some information would be able to have some of the equipment themselves and be able to do some testing. And if they get stuck or need some more information, they come to somebody like me. We have taught people all over the world how to improve their health for themselves, their loved ones, their families, and their friends. Now, all these DVDs, they're going to be in series, and each one will be listed. This first one, they'll be listed as RBTI DVD number 1. That's what this one's going to be. Then we'll go right in sequence 2, 3, 4, 5, so you can look at whatever you want to. There will not be a title for each one. Each DVD will try to keep it between 5 and 10 minutes upon a certain subject, whatever that topic is. And we're going to go down through all my books and materials so that you can understand how this whole progresses and be able to do this thing, the RBTI, and have some information for yourself. If you have a topic that you'd like to have discussed, you may submit it through Challen at heavenlywater.com. Go to my website, read the material on there, and if something's of interest and enough people ask a question, we will try to present something on that. This is quite a journey, and we're very excited about it. Now, we're dedicating this whole set of DVDs to Dr. Reams. Dr. Reams was a founder of the RBTI, and what I do is I've just expanded upon the information that he has taught whenever he was alive. And when I went to his classes, one of the classes I was in, he sat in front of the room and he was talking, and he said, you students are going to be the ones that unlock the secrets of the RBTI. And really myself, I thought, what in the world could we unlock that he didn't already unlock? But whenever I got sick the last time in 1989, 1990, I went back to God and I told God, I said, you have my attention. And God says in the Bible, my people have a slow neck, or a stiff neck. They're slow to bow. And I was sick 3 times. I went back to Dr. Reams 3 times before I finally got so sick in 89, and Dr. Reams was dead. And I told God, I said, if you show me the secrets, I will teach this to all that want to hear it. And I spent 20 years, spent all the money I had. I tested people, I learned, I put this business together, Heavenly Water, and I've uncovered so many secrets to this RBTI. Many of these secrets anybody's able to see with a little bit of exposure and a little bit of guidance. I've had people come here for 3-4 months. At the end of 4 months, they can see some of these pictures, and they get so excited they run out and do all kind of things. They just don't understand a lot of it, but they do some of the RBTI. Dr. Reams, when I was in his office one time back in the early 70s, he said he was so excited because he was able to teach this RBTI to somebody, and it was not going to go to his grave with him, because he thought it was going to go to his grave. He never thought he'd be able to convey it. Now, he didn't necessarily mean just me. There were many people in the classes that he taught that he helped. And the only thing I know is that this secret is here. And you don't have to believe me. You come see me and you watch these numbers, and I'll teach you how these numbers move. And you can see how this food affects everybody. And then another time, I really believe he knew what I was going to do with this, because another time I was in one of his classes, and one of his favorite sayings was, "It's very hard to educate the educated." And many of his classes, you had very learned people come to the class. You had doctors, chiropractors, very well-educated people, and they would come to the class and they would ask him questions. But the problem with all these people coming is they tried to make Dr. Reams' program fit into what they already were doing, and it didn't work. Dr. Reams' program was a completely different program. Now, it will complement all the healing arts, but this is the basis for everything. And the reason I believe that I was able to grasp onto this so well, because I knew nothing about health. My mind was like this blackboard or this whiteboard behind me. It was completely empty. I knew nothing about it. When I went to see Dr. Reams the first time, I'd had some health issues. I was only 22 years old. And I went in to see him. He did a test on just like I do now. Same thing he did, exactly the same way. And he told me what was wrong and why I hurt where I hurt. And I truthfully thought, this guy's a quack. I said, nobody can do this. But I said, I'm going to do what he said for 6 months. And so I made a commitment. And I tell many of my clients, make a commitment. Just do what I say for 6 months and see what happens. So I made a commitment for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, I thought I was so healthy I could walk through a wall. It was absolutely tremendous, and my numbers were perfect. I'm the only person I've ever seen with perfect numbers. Not that there haven't been other people, just that I have not seen them. I have never seen anybody with perfect numbers except mine. So I went and studied with Dr. Reams. I traveled with him, went to seminars. He told me I spent 3 days with him before and studied with him, and he told me different things about it. That's where I learned the most from him. Now, Heavenly Water, through these DVDs, we will have discussion points, and discussion points will talk with you and tell you different things. And we're going to teach you how the RBTI was, and how it is done, and what should be done today. If you want more information, go to www.heavenlywater.com. You should log in. On the toolbar, we have a Contact Us segment there. Put your information in there. Anytime we put a new recipe up, a new DVD, or a new pattern to study up, we will notify everybody by email that's on the website. If you're not on the website, you won't know when we put something new up. All this material is copyrighted. This DVD is copyrighted as of September 2013. But go visit the website, and hope to see you, and I hope you enjoy this journey with us. Thank you. Hello, I'm Challen Uэйчофф, and welcome to the second DVD of the series explaining or understanding the RBTI, put out by us. This second DVD is going to cover the history of me. Everybody, whenever I first counsel with somebody or talk with someone on the phone or in person, they want to know how I got into naturopath and how I got into the RBTI. Well, when I graduated from college in 1971, I had a Bachelor of Mathematics degree, Bachelor of Science degree, and I started my first business. And I asked God, I always had a special relationship with God, I asked God to give me the knowledge of what to eat and drink to be healthy. Well, within the next couple years, I became very sick. I had strep throat for 6 months. I went to 3 different specialists, 2 different hospitals, ran every test known on me, said there was nothing wrong with me, and for me to drink some hot coffee once in a while. Well, a friend of mine introduced me to Dr. Reams out of Georgia. He had his retreat in the mountains down there, Blue Ridge Mountains. And I went down and went in his office, and he did a set of numbers on me, the same thing that I do and teach today. And he told me what was wrong. And I thought, this guy's a quack. Nobody can do this. I've been to all these doctors and hospitals and specialists. But I said, I'm going to do what he says for about 6 months, and I'm going to see what happens. Now, mind you, I was only about 22 or 23 years old at the time. The younger you are, the better the results you have. And so I did what he said, and after 6 months, I had perfect numbers. And I was absolutely amazed, so I went and studied with him. I went through his classes, his seminars, as many as I could. I traveled with him. One time I traveled 3 days at a time, and he tested people every 15 minutes. And I took notes for everybody, and that's where I really learned how to do everything. And the last time I saw Dr. Reams was 1983, 3 years before he died. And he told me then, he said, this is the best set of numbers I've seen in a long, long, long time. I have that set of numbers in one of my books, which we will explain at a different time. But so I didn't do anything with the RBTI except a little bit for myself from 83 to 1990. I purchased and owned another business during that period of time, and I became very sick by 1989 or 1990. The Bible tells you, God says, my people have a stiff neck, they're slow to bow. So about 1989, I became very sick again. I sold my businesses, and I told God, I said, if you show me the secrets of this RBTI and how to get well, I will help all those that come to me, and I will teach those that want to hear it and understand it, the secrets of the RBTI. So for the next 15 years, I spent studying the RBTI, testing people, watching the diets, and learned these secrets. And every so often, a new secret would be exposed to me. And gradually, I put this together. 2005, I came out with a lot of this information, and we've written 11 books on it. We have a complete library. The next DVD will cover the library we have and what is offered on the library. And a little bit more history about myself. Whenever I was born, and I did not know this till after I met Dr. Reams, I was what was termed as a tox baby. Both my parents were alcoholics, and I was born as a tox baby, which means a baby that's born on some kind of a drug or alcohol or something. And after 30 days, I lost weight and had blood in my stools. And my mother told me, she took me back to the doctor's office in Washington, Pennsylvania. And he said, Mary, what are you doing here? And she said, my baby's going to die. And he said, he's going to die here too. And he took her by the arm and took her out of the office down into the sidewalk. And he said, take him home. And she said, but he's going to die. And he turned around and left and walked up the steps to his office. And she once again, holding me in her arms, said, my baby's going to die. He's losing weight and he's bleeding. And he said, and she said, what am I going to do? And he turned around and looked at her and he said, put him on distilled water. So that's what I do today. I think it's just ironic. Now, she did not tell me that until about 10 years after I met Dr. Reams. She told me that story shortly before she died. And so that just comes to play for what I do today. Now, as I said, we've written 11 books, and we had put together a library on the RBTI for you to understand. And we want to put this out free to the world. You follow this, many people will look at it. Very few people will hear it. Even less people will understand it. But it is there. The secrets to health are there. Our next DVD, which will be DVD number 3, in our book, Understanding the RBTI, will cover our library. If you want to contact me with questions, please go to Challen@heavenlywater.com or visit our website at www.heavenlywater.com. There you can see our complete library. Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Chаллен Уэйчофф from Heavenly Water, and we're doing our DVD number 3. This one's going to cover the library in the new series we're doing, Understanding the RBTI. And we put this library together really over 40 years. I don't know of any other place you can find a library on the RBTI such as what we have. And I want to go through and explain some of these books to you, some of this information that's available, and this is what we're going to refer to as we progress through the different levels of understanding the RBTI and through the examples that all through this, because I will eventually present many different examples on this. We're really thrilled about doing this. Now, the first booklet we've written, we've coined the phrase the health theory. And this just really promulgates the different theories that have been presented by man, or lists the different theories presented by man over since recorded history of time. And it talks about the germ theory, which was put out by Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch between 1860 and 1870. And today, the health theory, and explains a little bit about that. Very good reading. We send that all over the world. Next is the introduction to the Reams biological theory of ionization, or the RBTI. This has what perfect equation is. Anybody. These little booklets here are only $5 a piece. We send them, mail them any place, and it gives you what perfect equation is, what the healing numbers are, and tells exactly what each number refers to. This is an awesome read for the beginner, just to have an introduction. We also have available the only book in our library that's not authored by us is Choose Life or Death. This is Dr. Reams' book. This is not a textbook, but is filled with rules, and it explains much about the RBTI. If you want to have a good read and study, that's very good. It's called Choose Life or Death. We have that in our library too. The next book is The Secret. It's in the diet. In this book, it explains the list of no foods, exactly what causes the loss of energies when you eat those foods, and we'll explain in level 3 how you can tell exactly what food people ate on this no list and what the loss of energy is. Fascinating. And nobody's able to do the RBTI if they eat these foods. It will not work. The next book is our textbook, the only health guide you will ever need. Interesting about this health guide, when I first wrote it, someone called me and asked me if everything pertaining to the RBTI is in this book. I said, no, this is a guide. Dr. Reams said in his Choose Life or Death that if you were a very fast reader and you read 12 hours a day, it would take you 2,000 years to read all the materials pertaining to these numbers of the RBTI. And you'd have a stack of paper going from the earth to the moon. This is just a guide. All these books, what we've tried to do and what we have done is put this in a systematic form that anybody is able to follow the RBTI. But we will refer to these books as we go through these examples. Now, the level 1 course is a tutorial on operating equipment. The next DVD we have, it will be on level 1, and we will actually do a test on level 1 showing you how each step is done. And in the health guide book on page 19, it has numbered the best way to do the test for most efficiency. In other words, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do that. And I believe it's on page 9, it has the index card, a 3x5 index card, shows exactly how to post all the information so that you're able to eventually see the picture. Many of these pictures I tell you about here, anybody can see with a little bit of guidance. Now, the big picture that Dr. Reams talks about, only 4% of us can ever see that big picture. But these pictures here of the diet, anybody can see them once you learn how to do it. Level 2 course covers the patterns. We'll discuss the patterns and exactly what supplements you should take according to these numbers. You'll know when to take the dolomite, when not to take it, when to take the alginum, when to take the Cal-2, the oxide calcium, the different vitamins. There's only a few supplements that Dr. Reams ever used, and this is exactly the way Dr. Reams did it. Level 3 is going to be the diet. It will show you the impact of eating the unclean foods and how it creates a loss of energy. You can even see in these numbers, when someone uses unclean cookware, it will show up a certain pattern. It'll show when someone's eating something frequently. I've had people call me from New York City, and I have people from all over the world. And I look at this set of numbers, and I say, your diet's been good for 5 days, but 6 days ago you ate nuts. And the lady said on the phone, she says, I don't eat nuts. I said, well, the numbers show you do. One of the rules of the RBTI is you go by the numbers, trust the numbers never lie. Now, I don't think people intentionally lie, but I think they forget and they don't want to admit different things. So I told her, I said, well, these numbers show you ate nuts. So I told her what to do. 2 days later, she called back, told Carolyn. She says, I was thinking about what Challen said. And, you know, he said I ate nuts 6 days before this test. And I was thinking about it. And 6 days before this test, I went to a function here in New York City, and we had a supper. At that supper they served us nuts, walnuts. It was a Waldorf salad. And he said, you know, he was right. He ate the nuts. But you can see that, and I can show you how to do that. Level 4 is a compilation. You see it's a very thick. There's almost 3,000 different rules in this. Dr. Ream says in his Choose Life or Death book, in order to learn how to do the RBTI, you must memorize the rules of the RBTI the same as you memorize the multiplication tables as a child. Once you memorize these rules, these numbers start to talk to you. And don't be alarmed with all these different rules. It kind of just grows on you. Once you start seeing it, because there's rules of the sugar, rules of eating, and how the sugar effect goes through the day. All these different things I will teach you, and it becomes very, very simple. We have tremendous success. I've not seen anybody that does not respond if they follow the rules. Now, a lot of people don't like to follow the rules, but that's up to them. Now, the 5th course, level 5, is a picture. Now, in this, I have 99 different patterns. In some of these patterns, I have as many as 38 different pictures in one pattern of different things that I see in these numbers. Anybody can see this. Out of 99 patterns here, there's over 650 pictures that you can pick out. Dr. Reams used these patterns. If you go back to my The Only Health Guide You Ever Need, in the index, I have listed in there patterns. And there's about 18, maybe 20, 22 different patterns that Dr. Reams gave me 40 years ago. And these patterns were given to me in order to help me see what the numbers did and what's going on inside the body. These patterns are the same thing. These patterns will teach you how to see these numbers. Now, we have a lot of other things available in our library. One of the things that's really awesome is the Best of Reams series. This is 22 different CDs and 2 DVDs of Dr. Reams discussing the RBTI, how to follow the RBTI, how to do it. This is so loaded with information, it is amazing. This material you can study for 30 years and still see new things. Dr. Reams said that anybody that follows the RBTI will develop vision, because you're always looking for something new in these numbers. So this will develop vision with you, and people without vision perish. And this is what this is all about. And then we have the seminars. We have level 2 video seminar. This is a DVD of an actual classroom setting. Level 3 is a video seminar DVD of an actual classroom setting. Then we have level 2 and level 3 in audios that are actual classroom settings. Each one of the levels has different examples. For example, level 2 in my books, the examples are different than the level 2 in the audio, and they're again different than level 2 in the DVD. So that way you get a larger range of numbers to study. Also, we have an overview. We have an overview 1 and overview 2. And these are an overview of levels 2 through 5. Absolutely phenomenal. Matter of fact, one of the examples on the level 5 that I give, an attorney comes into my office, and he does a set of numbers. Carolyn does the numbers for him, and he comes, and he's been with me maybe 10 years, and he comes out to the front desk and he says, look at this set of numbers. What would cause this set of numbers? Now see what you do with these patterns and these numbers. You look at this pattern and it's cause and effect. Everything's cause and effect. And then you're able to deduce from the pattern what caused the effect of this set of numbers. So when I looked at his pattern, I said to him, I said, well, it looks like you skipped your lunch yesterday or ate a very small lunch and ate like a pig when you came home last night. And his mouth dropped open. He said, that's what I did. Well, it showed in that pattern because he destroyed the numbers. Now, one of the rules is, and I'm just giving an example of a rule, anytime you destroy these numbers, it takes 6 days to recover. So that's what it is. Then we have level 2. We have overview 2. It's another overview class. We did 2 through 5. Now, the guy from Australia ordered this one, and he called me, and he said the jokes on it was worth the price of the DVD. But these are all listed on our website. You can go to our website, visit the library. If you have any questions, our 800 numbers on the library on the website. You can call us at the office. You can send me an email, challen@heavenlywater.com. Our website is www.heavenlywater.com. So call, email, send me an inquiry, and we're here to help you. And these books are available for any time. Thank you for listening. I'm Challen Uwaichoff, and welcome to the Heavenly Water DVD number 4 for Understanding the RBTI. We're going to go away from the last DVD we did was a library. We're going to go to a pattern now. Now the patterns, in my textbook, the only health guide you ever need, in the index I have listed patterns. These are patterns that Dr. Reams gave to me 40 plus years ago. There's at least 15 listed in this index, such as diabetic, a person on drugs, person going too fast, menopause, nature does not heal evenly. All these patterns are in this index and listed in this book. Valuable information. Now what we're going to do, this pattern's not in my book, but we're going to discuss a pattern, and I'm going to tell you some of the pictures that you're able to see through this pattern very easily. But before I do that, I want to mention 4 things in Dr. Reams' Choose Life or Death. This is a phenomenal book, and it has rules all the way through it, so many. The first item I want to talk about is on page 39, and it discusses in this about the counterfeit RBTIs. Dr. Reams says, we will discuss the Reams biological theory of ionization, or RBTI. This is his Choose Life or Death. And he says the reason that I say the Reams biological theory of ionization is that there are now a number of counterfeit theories of ionization, which is not the one that God gave me in 1931. I would have no objection to anyone using the Reams theory of ionization if it accomplished the purpose of the goal, as was mentioned in the preface of this book. Now you have to be careful. The preface that is in these books that are being sold today are not Dr. Reams' preface. It has been changed. So you need to get the original preface. We have that available if you want the original preface. We also have it listed in our book, The Health Guide, the original preface. So you can see what he's talking about in that regard. Now the second thing I want to do is go to page 79 in his book. Here he talks about the purpose of the Choose Life or Death. He says the purpose of this book is to enlighten the people that it is easier to be healthy than it is to be sick. This is what Dr. Reams says. The third thing is on page 87 of his book, Choose Life or Death. If you go to 87, he says in here, every rule must be memorized and known as the multiplication table is known. This is what he states in here. He also states that once these rules are learned, then these numbers will talk to you and they tell you things. So you have to memorize. Now our level 4 book, we have almost 3,000 rules listed in that book, and it states where they're from. Many of them are from Choose Life or Death. We just have it all itemized for you for simplicity. And the fourth thing I want to mention about this, on page 18 in Dr. Ream's book, Choose Life or Death, he says in here, this is how you analyze these numbers. You know, people would say that he was psychic. People come in my office and say that I'm psychic, and they will also say it's impossible to see what I see in these numbers. But it's not. It's very, very scientific. And he says here on page 18, he's talking about a set of numbers, and he says this condition might have just started a month or two before, or it might have started a few years before. But we have reason to believe by the process of deduction that because of this carbohydrate condition and the pancreas is not manufacturing enough insulin and is of a rather short duration. In other words, he uses the process of deduction. By this set of numbers, I am able to deduce something about this individual and what's going on. Process of deduction. Deduction is I call it a mathematical term where A equals B and B equals C, therefore A equals C. So by the process of deduction, I'm able to deduce certain things. Now, those are items I want to bring up. Now, we have all this literature, of course, you saw in our library. We have the Choose Life or Death book available too. Now, the patterns, in my level 5 book, we have listed in here 99 different patterns. Out of each one of these patterns, there's over 650 pictures we have listed for the 99 patterns. On page 6, which is very similar to this set of numbers, we have a pattern. It's called pattern number 3. There are 29 different pictures in that pattern that you can see through that pattern. It's absolutely amazing. But patterns were given by Dr. Reams 40 years ago, and they're in my book so that we are able to deduce what these numbers are saying. Now, let's look at a set of numbers. Now remember, everything's cause and effect. So we have a set of numbers. This is pattern. We're going to call this pattern number 1. It's a male, 24, 5'6", 160 pounds. I'm going to read the numbers off in case you can't see it well enough. Now, the interesting thing about this is from a man that's over in Europe, and he's not able to get the urea test solutions. So he has all the numbers but the urea numbers. But I was able to ask him one question, and from that one question, I was able to deduce what his urea numbers were from the one question. Now, this was taken on a Monday, 11:20 a.m. 3.1 is the sugar. 7.2 over 7.7 are the pHs. 5C is the salt. 4M negative is the albumin count. X over X, the ureas, because we don't know. Now, I asked him one question, and whenever he answered that question, I was able to deduce that these ureas are about 5 over 6, 5 over 7, or 6 over 7. It gives that pattern. That's where it has to be. Now, cause and effect. First thing you look at with this set of numbers, what is this person doing to cause this pattern to be here? There's probably 5 different things, maybe more, that could cause this pattern. One of the things, of course, is diet. Another thing is water. Another one thing is supplementation he's taking. Another thing are drugs that he's taking. Another thing could be sea salt. And there's several other things to doing. So you have to be a little bit of a detective. There's no way to know exactly what's causing this. So I start off. I ask him questions. Is he on any drugs? No. Is he taking any supplements? No. So that takes those out of that pattern. Now, is he drinking a lot of water? Not a lot. What kind of water is he drinking? Nothing special. All right. So what would cause this? There has to be in the diet. So I said to him, I said, in my mind, I'm thinking there has to be a reason for this pattern. So I said to myself, what would cause this pattern in the diet? the first thing that comes up to my idea is something that's very anionic. What would that be? It has to be bananas. So I said to him, I said, are you eating a lot of bananas? He said, oh yeah, I eat bananas every day. A lot of bananas. I said, that's causing this problem. Next thing, I said, have you been using a lot of sea salt? Yes. I said, sea salt will cause this pattern. You got to get off of that. Now, I went to my book. The secret is in the diet. And on page 15 in that book, it gives me all the no foods. And it tells me the no foods. Number one on the no foods, sea salt. You use sea salt, you'll never have a good set of numbers. So I went through all the no foods with him and explained to him what the no foods. We got to get this diet changed. Now, what are some of the things that I would see in this set of numbers? One of the things, his throat's swollen, his tonsils are swollen, he has problems with sinuses. He probably snores like a freight train at nighttime when he sleeps. All right, next thing is his blood's very thick and dirty. His blood's very thick and dirty. His heart, the viscosity of his blood, the viscosity is sticky. The blood's becoming very sticky. And what I see in this set of numbers is a heart murmur. And I see the valve, when it opens, it's like glue. It's sticking to the stickiness in it. And it's wearing that heart out. There's a lot of pressure on the heart valves. And it's wearing it out. And I told him, now this man's only 24 years old. Very young for a heart murmur. But I said to him, I said, you're developing a heart murmur. And right away he says, I went to a doctor a short time period before this, and he said I had a heart murmur. I said, well, that's what this is showing. I said, it is a lot of pressure on the valves. Anybody that has, excuse me, anybody that has valve problems in the heart has an arsenic deficiency. You have to put certain things in the diet and get this set of numbers, this pattern to change. What else on this? His joints in his legs are losing the mobility. His ankle is moving less and less. And consequently, many times in the morning when he wakes up, his feet will hurt. Many athletes have this problem, and their bones and their feet break. It's called clay feet. Also, his ankles are not moving right. His knees are not moving right. He's losing the muscle strength in his legs. His calf muscle is in a state of desuetude. He's losing the calf muscle. The calf muscle is getting smaller and smaller. His upper body is getting larger. Back in college, we'd have people that lifted a lot of weights, drank a lot of protein drinks and all that stuff, and we'd call them Mr. Upper Body, because upper body, they were real good. What disease has that characteristic? Muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy. People are built strong up above. Their legs are very weak. They lose the mobility in their legs. They can't move the ankles. They become hobbled. There are many different things on here that you can see. Also, the messages from the brain throughout the body are being compromised. They're off almost 60%. So I asked him, I said, do you find a problem with your hand-to-eye coordination or your foot-to-eye coordination? And he said, oh yeah, I'm uncoordinated. I have trouble with that all the time. I said, well, that's off. There's problems with this. He has a tendency towards hypoglycemia. We could talk and talk and talk about this set of numbers, and there's a myriad of problems with this. But I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things you can see in the system through this set of numbers. This DVD's gone long enough. We'll have other patterns up. The next DVD we'll have out in a week or so. But this is the one that's all we're going to talk about this now. If you have any questions, contact us at Challen@heavenlywater.com or go to our website, heavenlywater.com. You can go to the YouTube videos and we'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you.